Welcome back to episode 3 of the podcast. Today I have back David. We're going to talk today a little more about the building side of the trusses and where they go when they leave our production site. Many people build pole barns to barndominiums, as even much as just a garage for out back. David, what is a post frame building?
Post frame building is basically it's a post in the ground. All of your load bearing structure goes to the post. It bears, pretty much all the way to the building. It's based around the post. They call it post and beam. It's one of the original ways to build back in the day when the settlers were building, and Amish build a lot with it still. They'll do post and beam, and they still do. People have probably seen they put like wood pegs in and things like that. Like that's how they built some cabins and things back in the day. And it's just an old traditional way of building, and it's a very efficient way of building. It's if you do it right, you don't use as much material as you do in conventional framing. It's a good way to build. It's a good way to get clear span area.
Now, I'm as familiar as everybody, but barndominiums are becoming a huge fad, I guess you could say. What is the benefit of building a barndominium versus traditional?
I think a lot of people like barndominiums because it gives them a bunch of options. They can have all their toys in there, and then they can have a living space in there, and they can arrange their interior however they want to. They don't have to worry about load bearing walls. It's all clear span, so it gives them freedom to do a lot of different things. You got less maintenance. I believe with barndominiums a lot of times a lot of people clad them with metal on the outside, or they'll do a wainscot of stone or something, and a lot of people like it just mainly because of the maintenance part of it, and then I think the square footage for the money you get out of it is right. You get a lot under roof for the amount you pay for a barndominium.
Awesome. So when a client comes in, or I guess let's back up. I know from just talking with the ladies up front, when a client contacts us and they want to build a building, a garage, a barndominium, how does that process work as far as the estimate and, go from estimate to actually building the product?
A lot of times people already have in their head an idea of kind of what they want to build. And, they come in and they've kind of got some people know exactly what they want, and people, they looked at it and they know exactly what they want. And then some people kind of have an idea and they don't know what's possible with one and what's not. And there's a lot of different, things you can do with our style. We can really customize it a lot, but just a barndominium in general can really be customized. And so the process is basically you come in the door, you have an idea of what you want, you come in, you sit down, you speak with one of the ladies generally in the front, and they really know these things forward and back, a lot of them, and they can sit down, and we have a 3D designer. You can sit down and design it, and you can kind of see exactly what you want. You can walk through the building with a 3D designer. You can look in and out of it. They can get you a pretty close estimate of it. We can explain or discuss and see, what you want for a floor finish, what you want for an exterior finish. We can look at the shape, the pitch of the roof. We could pretty much build anything that you can imagine. Of course, it's just like anything else. The more you do, the more elaborate you get. Usually, the more expensive it gets. But we're really able to customize and build a lot of things. And then after they decide on what they want, usually we put their trusses into production. That's the main thing. First thing, the trusses go into production, and then we start gathering all the materials for the rest of it, and put them on a schedule. And a lot of times we stay backed up, and I hate it. I wish there was more good skilled labor out there, but I don't know how to find it.
I think you and the rest of the country don't know how to find it these days.
We've got some pretty good subcontractors too that take care of us, but there's few and far. They're just like everybody else. They're backed up too.
Absolutely. Okay, so once the client comes in, they sit down with you, you get the estimate to them. What happens from there as far as, okay, say we're working with a Barndominium client. I know Barndominium client versus Joe Blow building, an open pole barn on his agricultural land. What is the difference as far as engineering, as far as permitting? Kind of what does that entail?
What's the difference between a residential,
right?
Like so, if it was going to be a house.
Yep. So the process there, if
So, ag barn is not far off from a residential structure. There's a few things you have to do differently. It's considered a Category 2 structure. It's mostly to do with permitting. They require you to have a little bit of electrical in there, minimum amount of electrical, minimum amount of plumbing. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I think it's 1 bathroom, 1 sink, and it's 1 bathroom, 1 sink, and a shower. And a toilet, of course. But in Santa Rosa County, every county is different, but Santa Rosa County, I believe, if you buy a piece of land, if you're going to do a building on there, the building has to be a Category 2 structure if it's going to be your first building, unless you already have plans to build a house or residence there. Right. But a Category 2 structure, which is a livable structure, that gets into, a lot of times it definitely has to be engineered. A lot of times the engineer, depending on the wind load for the area, for the zip code, they call it exposures, for whether it has trees around it, whether it's in an open field, that all factors in. And a lot of times you're required to plywood the roofs. We like to use zip board. And there's different loads on the framing. The percentage of the way that they calculate the loads goes up. They look a little bit at the footers too. We really don't, in a post frame building, you're not reliant on the footers, but we do like to, in a Category 2 structure, we like to tie them all in we like to tie the rebar through the post into the footers, just for a little added measure there.
Right. You mentioned Category 2 and Category 1, and I know that's a Florida thing, or at least a coastal thing. What are some things that are required, I guess, for building? It would really be building any type of residential structure, but focused on barndominiums. If you're going to build a barndominium and it's a Category 2, what are some things that are required that may not be required further north?
In other states. Yeah, we're definitely in Florida. We're definitely required to have engineering on it. Our trusses are engineered, number 1. Number 2, we also engineer the whole building package. And then a lot of times, most of the time, in that when they engineer a Category 2 structure, I think we're required to. We've done all of them with plywood on the roof. I believe it's 5/16 plywood is the minimum. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but anyway, we use it's 5/8. I'm sorry. It's the zip board is what we normally use for that, and then a 7/16 on the walls. And we've run into some issues with that because a lot of times people just want an apartment inside of their barndominium, and have the rest of it open. And we've had a couple of different I guess differences of opinion about that, whether the whole structure should be wrapped in plywood, or if it's okay just to wrap the apartment part of it in plywood. So that's been a little bit of a debate. But of course the county and the engineers wound up winning. So
right.
we wound up doing the whole building, and normally most of the time I can think of a handful of times where we've done it the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the other things that goes into building a Category 2 structure is definitely impact windows. You're required to either have impact windows or shutters in the state of Florida. And impact windows, they significantly raise the cost of a building. Yeah, it's usually at the very minimum double, if not quadruple the price of a normal window.
Oh, absolutely.
They are definitely worth their weight in gold though when a hurricane comes and you've got objects flying around. But saying that, a Barndominium is really strong too if you're going to build a Cat 2, and then you do wind up plywooding the walls, and then say you put metal on the outside, like I'd say a good 70% of them do. Then you've got a very strong shell right there, a good layer of protection.
Absolutely. I know when I built my Barndominium, gosh, 2 years ago now, we were a Cat 2. We were actually real close to the water, so we may have been a Cat 3. Is that even a thing? Because we were required to have impact windows. We didn't have the option of shutters.
Cat 3 is generally commercial, I believe.
Then we were not a Cat 3. We were definitely a Cat 2. But we didn't have the option of shutters for this one. And when you say that it can double, possibly triple the cost, it's no exaggeration. When I got my bill for windows and doors, because I put glass in my doors, I wanted to vomit. It was ridiculous. But another thing I do remember when we built the Barndominium, you mentioned how there's no load-bearing walls and you pretty much have freedom to do whatever you want. You don't have load-bearing walls. So we actually didn't have to have an architect design the floor plan. So that saves you a lot of money, because I just had a draftsman draft that up, and then my framer did the interior. So as far as cost goes, building a Barndominium versus building a house, and now I've done both of those things, the Barndominium is going to save you so much money, and you're able to really customize it however you want, because you're saving money on the back end in a lot of ways. So there's definitely a lot of pros, not many cons to building a Barndominium. If you're shopping on a budget, building on a budget, you're going to be a little more limited as far as design goes, because everything is going to cost you more. Every upgrade, like your porches, your pitch of your roof even, because that's more of a custom truss. Just every little thing you do, if you choose to do a board and batten exterior versus the metal, you're going to pay on all of those things. However, it's still going to be a beautiful home, even if you do a plain Jane house. I've seen beautiful Barndominiums that were built on the tightest budget, and I've also seen $1 million Barndominiums. So the possibilities are endless, but really, you're getting way more bang for your buck. Talk about, because this is another question that comes up in like a lot of Barndominium groups. Is it cheaper to build outward or upward when you're building?
I would say upward, because of the cost of concrete. Of course, you got the extra labor that's involved with getting higher. But I would say building upward. I mean, usually you have to go up on the sides of the post and everything. But as much as concrete runs now, it's if you want concrete now, some people, we just sold one earlier that the guy's putting a wooden floor in.
Which that's not a livable structure.
It's not a livable structure.
Yes. We see all kinds.
If you wanted to put lean-tos on there and store all your garden tools in there, it's a good option. So
absolutely.
But there's a lot of money in the foundation work, the dirt work, and then the building pad itself, the footprint. So we've done quite a few of them where we've gone up and they've done a second story in there, and I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I know when I built mine, I did a loft upstairs, and loved that. It gives you extra space, and again, they didn't have to be engineered interior design drawings. So
I got a friend in Michigan right now. I just got off the phone with him earlier, and that's what they're doing right now. They we sent them a kid up there, and they had a company called Tri-State Pole Barns up there, and they put it all together for them, and they're getting ready to build a second story in it. They're trying to get all the all the main things done right now.
Right.
And then they're gonna that's their plan, is to build a second story in there.
Which, another thing about a Barndominium versus a DR Horton house, that can be built while you're living in the house. You can always add on upstairs. You can add on whatever while you're actually living in the house. Yeah. So that was another pro for me, was things could be done as I, lived in it, and now things didn't all get done while I was living in it, because that's the joy of living in a house and saying you're going to do it later. You don't always get those things done, but that's with anybody. And
just ask my wife.
Yeah. This last house I built, I made sure all the upgrades were done before moving in, because I was not going to
live in construction zone.
Yes. Yeah. I've done that for too many years.
Yeah.
But what are some of we've talked about the pros, and there's lots, but what are some of the negatives you would say of, maybe not a barndominium, but building a post frame building? Like, what are some, I won't say cons, because they're not negative things generally, but I guess some of the things we can't do or can't do easily.
It's really hard for us to do a real cut up roof line. I guess that's probably one of the main things that's hard for us to do. It's doable, definitely doable. It winds up costing so much more money to do it out of steel. We can do it out of wood all day long, but if we don't do the wood, but companies can do the wood, and but to do it out of steel, it's definitely doable. It's so expensive to custom do all that stuff. That's probably one of the main things that's a con. One of the other things I could think of right off the top of my head is probably the education and the labor force to do it, I would say, because you've got a bunch of framers out there that are used to framing a certain way, doing a conventional style house, and with a barndominium you can really you can use your mind and use your creativity, I guess, and you can frame in different ways. A lot of people frame these things on the outside of the post. We prefer to frame them bookshelf style inside the post. We like to double our framing up as an interior framing and exterior framing to save on the amount of wood that is used in them.
Right.
I think you get a huge cost savings, especially. It's not so bad right now because lumber's not as expensive as it was, but there was a crunch there for a couple of years that it got pretty bad. And
that would be the time I built mine.
Wood was just about as equivalent to its weight in gold, you know. And
I want to touch too on what you said about education, because that goes in so many directions with a barndominium. A lot of people hear the term barndominium and they run for the hills because they think of it as just a metal building. And I know, just from my experience, when people would hear the term barndominium, they thought I was building some horse barn and going to put a cot in it. And that's not the case. Like we said, barndominiums, there's $1 million barndominiums out there. We have spoke with several barndominium companies who are building homes that are so beautiful they could be in the Beverly Hills. So I think education goes a long ways, because people are so set in their ways and thinking that you can't build some dream house out of a post frame style construction, and that's just not true.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot of options.
Yeah.
You can do so much with them, and you can clad them with just about anything you want to on the outside. If you if you don't want to do metal, if you want to do a certain type of wainscot, or if you I don't know, that's just the exterior, and then the interior, like you said, you're free to design how you want to.
Yes. There's no load-bearing walls that you have to, work with. And, really, the possibilities are endless, I found. And that was probably one of my favorite pros of building one, because I just was able to have full creative freedom and design the floor plan that I wanted, even though the backlash I got on the floor plan I created was endless. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is it?
People could not understand my concept of, placement of laundry room and master bath, and why I didn't do such a big closet. And
did they have to live in it?
No.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, we definitely have some creative people on our team. I would say so. Valerie is excellent. She can really sit down and go through with the customer and design really quickly on our computer and spend some time with them and get exactly kind of what they want. And
Absolutely.
She impresses me every day, so
yes.
she really does good. Shauna is extremely detailed. I mean, she is extremely detailed, and she'll take a set of plans if somebody's got a set of plans, and she can pull them apart, and she catches a lot of things that I don't catch.
Yeah.
You know, and probably my ADD, I guess, but I'm always so busy. I just kind of zoom over everything and try to keep it going. But yeah, we've got some pretty good people up here.
Absolutely. Our whole team up here is one of a kind, I would say.
Yeah. Very dysfunctional family.
That part I'm going to cut out.
But a good way.
Yeah. Well, David, thank you for coming on today on episode 3 and discussing barndominiums, pole barns, garages, everything from start to finish. Post-frame construction offers flexibility, and whether you're building a simple storage building or a detailed barndominium, we've got all of the tools and team to do so. So again, thank you, David. It's good to have you.
And it's a great way to add space to your life.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kelly.